G'day mate, and welcome to my top 10 tips for Steamworld Build. And the very first tip we're going to jump into right now is each of the maps have a hidden reward. A hidden reward for completing the map. As we can see, we have, this goal here. If we complete the Giddy Up Gorge, we're going to get an extra building, being a train depot, which will make the train arrive more often, and the train store have a mega sale. The High Roller Dunes will give you a free roads and conveyor belts. It's actually the first map I recommend you complete, because roads and conveyor belts are very expensive. Also, it's an advantage you're going to really be able to use in your second playthrough. Speed it up. Third one is, the Grand Galley gives you the Rail Rush, free chance in the train store and an additional item slot. That one's actually not a bad bonus too. It means every single building can have 2 items in them rather than a single item. Also means everything down the mines, rather than having 3 items, can have 4. Tumbleton gives you more tumbleweeds, and they grant an extra reward. Normally the extra reward is money, and honestly if you're on your second or third playthrough, you should know by now money is not too hard to get. And the Natural History Museum means faster miners and fewer tiles required for all rooms and quarters. Is very, very handy, but not super game changing. The next thing we're going to cover really quickly is fertility. I've had lots of people tell me that you should worry about how many trees you're chopping down, because, well, they disappear over time. The bad news is, or the good news is, all depends on how you look at it, is the trees don't disappear over time. You're just building over them. So as we can see, when I put down this particular forest, it has a certain amount of trees in its radius, and some of them are highlighted white. But those ones that are highlighted white are the ones it's actually attached to. If I was to build a road over that particular tree, well, it's no longer highlighted. Instead, a new one is, which means if I build over that one, well, again, it's going to highlight a new tree. If I over that one and that one, we can see we've tapped out all the trees. We're still at 100% fertility, but as soon as I throw down over another tree, you can see the fertility has dropped. So you need to be really, really careful when you're putting down forests. Just make sure that you're not building over any of the trees. Throw in some decorations or squeeze in some buildings between the trees, because, well, the more trees you build over, the less fertility you get. Same does apply to the sand shifting factory. We're going to make sure that we place them in some area that's nice and green, and then don't build over the sand. If we were warehouse, that's not pretty big. We'll throw one of those there. We're still at 100%. Throw another one over here. I'm still at 100%. If I throw another one over here, I start dropping the fertility, just because I'm building over the sand. Now, some tiles are better than others. I already know that if I move that over there, hang on, let's put you here instead. Yep, that building is completely covered, and we move it here, and my fertility actually got worse because some of this was rock rather than sand. If we pick you back up again and have a look, we see some of that area is red, which means the fact that I built over it makes no difference because it just wasn't that sandy to start with. So yeah, be very, very careful when it comes to, both your sand shifter and your forester. Make sure that you're putting them somewhere where you can keep as much of the fertility as possible. So tip number 3 is the best way to get extra gold is via, tumbleweeds. It's also the only place you're going to get rubies. Very, very important. If you need extra gold to expand your mines, to get more officers' quarters, really recommend you have a look in the train shop. One of the best ways to work out how to get extra gold is having a look at your unit, your items per minute. Yes, this lovely little graph here. This is based on a 1 minute mark, which you can see I'm making around about 6.3 Vectron scrap. It does go up and down because obviously one of the prospectors is having a bit of a lazy day. So if I traded off about 8 of this, because that's what it was sitting at previously, per minute, I'd be fine. As the train shows up every 5 minutes, 5 times 8 is 40. I'm trading, 40 of that for 20 of that, which means I happen to have, 2,500 gold. So yeah, if you want extra gold, head in here, set up a trade, pick something you're not using. I highly recommend you look at, potentially how many boards you're not using. Also, once you get down to the lower layers of the mine, you're not using pickaxes anymore. That could be a very, very good trade. Along with steel sheet and also, plastic. Yep, and potentially the carbide drills. Carbide drills take a little bit longer to make, a little bit harder to make, but could be a very, very profitable trade for more gold, should you need more gold. Next on our list is, very important question. I just like asking this question when I'm doing up videos. I just ask, with 3 tips in, I just like to borrow a like. I like to borrow a like at this point in the video. If you're not happy with the video, you didn't think the other tips were worth it, by all means, you can have your like back. But for the moment, can I just borrow it? So back into the train station, the most powerful cards we have are, the warehouse cards, because everything else you can sort of live with or live without and work your way around. You are going to need a couple of cards for, well, your guards, generally a couple of flamethrowers, but you should find that through your playthrough. The warehouse and deliveries are super important because, as you've probably seen already, you've put down a few warehouses. Each one you can add a card to means potentially you could remove a neighboring warehouse. That really does add up very quickly, and it means you have less warehouses taking up valuable space inside your town, which means you can put in more factories. More factories means more production, also means you can squeeze down the footprint of everything. Got to remember that even though I have a warehouse here, there, and everywhere, in the case of, well, you're a perfect example. You're making glass wool from sand. The sand factory can take the sand directly to the glass wool spinner, and then they can take the glass wool directly to, well, the hat factory. They can. They're obviously up. That's what he just did. He just picked up the glass wool directly from here and then took it in there. Yeah. I obviously could do with a delivery upgrade right here. Yeah, give me one of those. And we'll throw that in there. Cool. That's going to take out the amount of deliveries that this building has available, which will speed up every single task. Next one I'm going to add on our list is the surveillance center. The surveillance center, I first put one down. I thought it was a very pointless building until I clicked on it. Once I clicked on it, I got some important information. Don't really care about the radars. They're not super helpful, but the surveillance ability at just 9 tiles is super helpful. It's going to tell you exactly how many total mines are on that particular level, so you can know exactly what size you need to build your workshop to cover, well, what resources you have available. As you can see, I'm obviously overbuilt mine just slightly, but it was very helpful when I first put it down. The other bonus tip I'm going to give you is, as you can see right here, if I place 2 more tiles, I get 1 extra extractor slot. So you can get these readouts by clicking on the different tiles, the different quarters or potentially facilities, yes, and see exactly how many extra tiles you need to put down to just squeeze out 1 extra worker. Could be very handy. And with that, we're now 6 tips in, so I ask you, as I've already borrowed the like, as you haven't complained about the video so far, I do ask, maybe you should consider hitting the subscribe button, because we're going to have a few more Steamworld Builds tutorials in the not too distant future. Next up on our list, we need to again talk about cards. I'm going to throw down a tiny little guard quarter right here to bring in 2 extra recruits. I need to talk about these 2 extra recruits because I want to give them some equipment. As we see them pop over, we're going to pause the game very quickly, and I'm going to click on Flamethrower. Now, when I first played the game, I just assumed if I click Flamethrower, one of these cabinets here would have flamethrowers in it, and as many of my recruits as they wanted could pick up flamethrowers. Turns out, no. Because I selected 1 flamethrower, only 1 guy gets a flamethrower. This guy's going to have to go in, well, his bare pickaxes, let's say, to beat up all the monsters. If I select revolver as well, one of these guys is going to get a revolver. So it's going to be very important that you try and stack cards wherever possible. As you can see, I have, 3 sets of rifles here and 1 lot of flamethrowers in this particular guard quarters. So, yeah, you're going to want to try and stack these wherever possible, just to give your guards the best bonuses you possibly can. In the super late game, well, in the late game, you're going to be able to get belts. Belts means that you don't need nearly as many prospectors as you did previously. As you can see, this is level 3 of the mine, and I only have, well, about 5 prospectors that are actually busy. If we go up 1 more level, I have 0 prospectors that are actually busy because, well, everything's on belts, so I don't have to bother. And if we go up to the top layer of the mine, same story here. I have, well, 1 prospector, because on this particular layer, everything is on belts. The only things you're going to need the actual prospectors for is for harvesting, well, the bubblegum, also harvesting the rocket fuel, because that still has to be done by hand. Next one we need to talk about is our trusty engineer crew. Our trusty engineer crew does do, well, 3 things. One of the things they do is they obviously put in brand new buildings. So if we throw in a brand new building, well, an engineer is going to have to pop over here and build it. Also, same applies to repairing buildings, also putting in, buildings. There we go. Putting in, speed vents, or putting in the late game teleporters. They're all going to require an engineer to come along and build. But the other thing engineers do happen to do is they repair buildings. So if we look at my front line, we can see, well, I've got a couple of little flamethrowers here, which means each time we get an attack over here, well, an engineer has to come over here and repair them. So that's going to be pretty important to make sure you have enough engineers to cover the amount of attacks you have coming in. The other important thing the engineers do is they actually pick up repaired down bots. So if one of my guards has a little bit of a beating, doesn't have such a good day, well, I'm going to need an engineer to repair him back up to full health and get him back out there. Once they're up and moving, at least, they can always come back to their original quarters and get a repair over here en masse, but I need an engineer to make sure he's standing up to start with. All right, our next one is roads. Roads come in 3 different levels. They come in the dirt road, the paved road, and the maglev road. Roads have a range, well, at least a implemented distance. Yes, let's go with that. As you can see, I've hooked up a service to a road here, and I've put in a marker at, well, 10, 20, 1, let's just delete you. Yep, 30 tiles and also 40 tiles. So we can see our little road comes out to 25 tiles for a dirt road. If I upgrade this to a paved road, we're going to obviously squeeze some more tiles out of it because it's a little bit faster for robots to walk across it. So we have 10, 20, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 38 tiles. Not too bad for a paved road. The disappointing part is if you upgrade to a maglev road, and I drag this all the way through to here, we're going to get to 40 plus 2. So going from a dirt road up to a paved road, super important, but don't expect too much of a bonus when you get up to maglev road. Obviously, the magnets are not terribly strong in, well, the Steamworld Build country. Obviously, not enough iron content in the robots. And the final tip I have for you comes down to combat. Really make sure you use the flame turrets. The flame turrets are incredibly beefy, incredibly powerful, do a decent amount of damage, but they do require them to spin up. So be warned. Yeah, it's going to take them a little while to get up to speed, but it does mean that when you get an attack, which looks like we have one coming up right about now, these will bear the brunt of the assault. So they're going to stand up. They're going to take a little while to spin up, but once they spin up, they're going to put out an incredible amount of damage. Also means that your engineers are going to only have to repair a couple of buildings rather than potentially a whole lot of worker robots. I already have the achievement for completing the game without using any turrets whatsoever. And I have to say, I need an awful lot of officers to keep things at bay, and then I need an awful lot of mechanics to make sure that the officers stood back up after combat had happened. Yeah, something you keep in mind. So yeah, I strongly recommend you throw down flame turrets, and also a grenade launcher or two never hurt. Don't also forget that the thumper, not only does it take out worms, it also slows down any enemy within range. So it's going to keep them well, attacking a little bit slower after they get over the edge. Yeah, as we can see, the defensive squad has already arrived, and pretty sure there's going to be insta-gib. Yeah, oh, no, it actually spun up. There we go. But yes. Whoop, no, too slow. You're dead already. Yeah, you're also dead. Okay, we'll try this again. We're going to see that these guys attack directly the turret. They don't really bother attacking the robot, which means the robot doesn't need a repair. I would much prefer to have an engineer come over here and repair one of these turrets eventually, rather than having to, well, deal with having to repair many different bots. But anyway, that's going to bring us to the end of this particular video. There'll be more carnage in the very next one, I promise. But actually, there probably won't be. We're going to be covering towns. What's the best way to build a town? And what's the best way to maximize your cash? Or at least your cash flow from taxing your robots. Anyway, that'll be in the next video. I do recommend you click the subscribe button if you want to see that in the not too distant future, or maybe you're lucky, it's down the pinned comment below. Either way, I'm going to leave this video here. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Do hope this video helped you, and I'll see you in the very next video. Bye.